Wake up, make coffee, drink coffee, pack up our gear, ride for 6 to 8 hours, unpack, make dinner, eat dinner, and sleep. Wake up, make coffee, drink coffee, pack up our gear, ride for 6 to 8 hours, unpack, make dinner, eat dinner, and sleep. Wake up, make coffee, drink coffee, pack up our gear, ride for 6 to 8 hours, unpack, make dinner, eat dinner, and sleep. All the way from here to the southern tip of South America to a small town called Ushuaia, Argentina. Just me and my fiance, Seth. He on his hand cycle, me on my bike, pulling a bob trailer, hauling all of our gear. We did some variation of that little routine I just mentioned for 315 days. We left Portland in September 2013 and finished in Ushuaia just this past August. And if you're thinking to yourself, where on earth is that? Take a look at the map. We rode through 7 countries, had to skip over Central America because we had some health problems, but our main goal was to demonstrate the importance of physicality and movement for all, regardless of ability. Now, when people hear about a trip like this, they want to know about the scary parts or where we feared for our lives, which we never did. They want to know where our favorite spots were, or they want to know a lot about Seth. How did Seth do everything with nothing but his arms, to pedal, to camp, to do everything? So, to clear some of those questions from your mind, I'll show you our least favorite leg. This is the northern coast of Peru. Every day we saw headwinds, sandstorms, this vast array of nothingness, like the backdrop out of Mad Max. A couple of our favorite spots. This is Patagonia. And this is Baja, Mexico. As you can see, we tend to like mountains or beaches with mountains. And this is Seth. Seth in his wheelchair. This is Seth in his hand cycle. And this is Seth in his wheelchair next to his hand cycle, drinking a cup of coffee from some friendly Ecuadorian farmers. And really, when it comes down to it, Seth is a normal guy, except he doesn't have functioning legs, trunk, or hands. And so, yes, it makes our trip pretty unique with his presence, but it also makes it exciting when we go to places like Machu Picchu. And we get a little too excited to see silly signs like this. But I'm not here to talk about that. Instead, I want to tell you how a trip like this is actually more doable than you may imagine. If I stood up here and broke down our trip based on each country, it still seems like a pretty big deal. Maybe a little bit more manageable if I broke it down by month. But better yet, what about day by day or the segments of our day? And so that's exactly what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take you through our typical day on the road. And like any change from something comfortable, this took a lot of time for us to get used to. But once we were in our routine, we never thought to ourselves like, whoa, we are riding from Portland to Argentina. No, we just needed to get through one day at a time. We rode about 70 kilometers, 45 miles. We just needed to get from town A to town B. And since we've been home, we reflect back on the trip and we realize that our finishing this trip really boils down to our ability to adapt and overcome whatever obstacles or challenges came our way. So with that, put on your adventure caps. I'm going to take you through a day's ride. The forecasted high temperature or the sunrise time is what dictated our alarm. We got up anywhere from 4:30 to 5:30 a.m. or as late as 9 a.m. Seth is not a morning person. But I am, only I like to relax and enjoy the morning and really taste the coffee. So while neither of these things changed when we were on the road, we learned very early on that we needed at least 2 hours from the time that we were actually out of bed until we were rolling down the road. I got up first, got dressed in the tent, and packed up whatever gear I could kind of manage, mostly our equipment or valuables we didn't leave on our bikes overnight in case it rained or somebody tried to pick something off our bikes. Any of our cameras, GoPro, wallets, lights. got out of the tent and started to pull apart our bikes and reorganize so that we could then repack for the day. Got the stove going, the water boiling for coffee, and meanwhile, Seth was back in the tent packing up sleeping bags, sleeping pads, things of that nature. As the coffee was finishing, Seth was usually pretty ready to get out of the tent as well, and that's the one time in the morning hustle and bustle we stopped and took a break and enjoyed the coffee and the scenery around us. But as soon as that was done, it was time to get moving again. Seth disassembled the tent. I got breakfast going, and breakfast was some sort of bread product and protein or dehydrated milk over dry cereal. Fill up our water bottles, our Camelback bladders, do one final check around, load everything up, and hit the road in the southern direction. We rode for a couple of hours before we stopped for our break. And our snacks during this break were those gummy, like sugar-covered orange slices that you can get those bags at Walgreens for like 2 for $1. Some sort of Nature Valley, like crunchy granola bar or Cliff Bar, all of which were resupplied by our parents along the way. And if we were lucky enough, could jump off the side of the road and take a quick pee. Now, ladies, I don't know how many of you have tried to discreetly pee off the side of the highway, but it is not as easy as maybe you may think. This spot looks a little easier because there's some shadows, some shade, and some hills. But imagine the scrub desert of Mexico. We had stopped and were about to hit the road again, and I jumped off the side of the road, squatted, and was minding my own business when I had this overwhelming feeling that somebody was staring at me. And sure enough, I look up, and here comes a truck full of federales. I don't know if you can imagine this, but think of a big pickup truck, the bed completely packed with men who look like the SWAT team. They're dressed head to toe, all black, carrying machine guns, staring right at me. Now, at this point, stupidly, I did not stand up and pull up my shorts. Instead, I decided to run a little farther back into the desert with my shorts still around my ankles. So Seth for sure got a good laugh, and I'm sure those federales did as well. Another spot that proved to be difficult was the northern coast of Peru again, just because there was nothing. So this was a perfect spot to hide behind my bike for shelter. After we ate our snack, took a quick pee, hit the road again until lunch. And depending on our supplies, lunch was something very similar to breakfast, except we added some fruit and some coffee and some lunch dessert. Now, we never knew how often we were going to see towns or what they were really going to consist of, so we had to make sure we stopped at any gas station that we saw for restocking food, anything else random that we may need, but most importantly, water. We didn't realize this until we were actually on the road, but we were riding through mostly desert, therefore we were really reliant on bottled water. If we could plan for it, we saved our water resupply for as late in the day as possible, simply because the water was so heavy. But there were several times that I had to carry 20 liters of water for a couple of days. Now, we don't have the metric system here, so to clarify a little bit of that, 20 liters is equivalent to 5 gallons. 5 gallons of water weighs about 40 pounds. My bike and gear without the water weighed 160 pounds. Add the 40 pounds of water weight, you can do the math. I'm pedaling a 200-pound bike. I weigh 150 pounds, roughly. So me pedaling that heavy of a bike, Seth using his arms, you can see why we got nowhere fast. If the day went as we had hoped, we were pulling off the road about 4:30 in the afternoon, and like I just mentioned, my bike was way too heavy, and so if we could find a spot to lean my bike, like this tree, a fence, something, that was pretty helpful. We also kept an eye out for any sort of shelter from the wind, rain, any storms. This particular night in Peru, we got hailed on. And because we were typically just kind of pulling off the highway, it was nice to get a safe distance from any moving traffic. And one other random thing that we had to look out for was people. Now, I don't know if you see me in the center there, but anytime we stopped, whether it looked like there was nobody around or it was fully populated, no matter what time of day, we became the center of attention. Now, we truly appreciate these kids' curiosity, but kids means people. And in Latin America, the sense of quiet and personal space is very different than it is here. And after a long day of riding, say 6 to 8 hours of exercise, when we put up our camp and all we want to do is crash and go to sleep, it gets very tiring to feel like you're answering hundreds of questions in a foreign language. We tried to have camp set up, eat, and be in the tent for dark. So all of those people trying to feel like we wanted to answer questions because we didn't want to be disrespectful, it made it even harder to relax and get camp set up for the night. Dinner was as many carbs, calories, protein we could fit into that one little pot that you see up there. Seth is not a vegetarian, but I am. So that meant that Seth was a vegetarian by proxy for this trip. We ate a lot of rice and beans, pasta, tuna, cheese, peanut butter, and I know you might be thinking to yourself, and you're exactly right, tuna is not a vegetable, but there were so many times that I needed protein. Seth ate meat occasionally other times. But eat dinner, do some dishes with as little water as possible because it was our drinking water, jump in the tent, and it was time to relax. Wrote in our journals, read our books, or just generally enjoyed laying flat after a long day of riding. If it was quiet after dark, we found ourselves sound asleep for at least 10 hours or until the next morning's alarm, when we would wake up and do the whole process all over again. So there you have it. There is a snapshot of our day. And with each one of those days came some source of something unknown, therefore making every day an adventure. And so since we've been home, we realized, looking back on things, that our day's biggest challenges didn't have to do with pedaling our bikes at all. And so my message to you is to get out there and try something new, and remember that adventure is trying something new and working your way around whatever obstacles or challenges may come your way. Do it enough, you might find yourself riding at the end of the world through some snow with a bunch of strangers, going Forrest Gump style to finish a year-long bike trip.
You open up when you had me in your hands, slipping far away with the world at your command. You sing me to sleep and then you hit me awake. It's a perfect life, a perfect life. I only want to be here when you're by my side. Oh, I believe now, I love you till I die. You will sing me to sleep, you will hit me awake in a perfect life, a perfect life. Oh, we close our eyes, the perfect life, life is all we need.
If you find yourself dreaming of some grand adventure, try to imagine one day. If you can get through that one day, your whole world opens up. Thanks.